Hey, I'm Aaron from Copeland, and you are on Rock Forever magazine.
Hey guys, it's Tori from Rock Forever magazine, and I'm here right now with Aaron from Copeland. How you doing?
Great.
Yeah?
Great. Yeah, we're wrapping up a tour in Orlando.
Tonight's the last night of the headlining tour, so it's kind of bittersweet, isn't it?
Yeah, we've actually been having a really good time on the tour. We're on the road with Isley and a band called We Are the City.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's been getting along swimmingly and, enjoying some good music every night.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of surprising to see that you guys are doing this headlining tour, and it was a pretty long run, considering I know previously you were kind of saying, oh, we're not sure if we're really going to do too much touring and things like that, because, I mean, your lives have changed a lot lately, no?
Yeah, we aren't a bunch of 20-somethings living in a van anymore. We're, 30-somethings with wives and kids, and, So yeah, it makes it a little more difficult, and our families kind of make a sacrifice for us to go out on the road. But we released a record last year called Exora, and we just really, really believed in the songs, and rather than just let it just fizzle out on iTunes, we figured we'd do a little bit of touring and see if we can get it heard by some folks. Yeah,
absolutely. So is this something you're planning on keeping up, the whole touring thing, or is this kind of a one-time thing for you guys?
I think we're going to be an active band, but I don't think we'll get back into like full-time touring, just because it would be too hard on our families. So I think if the opportunity arises and it makes sense for our family lives and seems like a good move for the band, I think we're open to it, but
yeah,
it'll definitely be scaled back from what we used to do, which was just full-time touring year-round, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And during your time off, you had started your own recording studio where you were producing for some other artists. I know This Wildlife and Emerosa, to name a couple. So what was it like for you when you guys decided to give Copeland another shot? What was it like for you to reshift your focus and put your creative ideas towards Copeland rather than someone else's music again?
Yeah, there's when I'm producing a record, for producing a record for another band, I definitely put my all into it, and I don't hold back any good ideas. I just put I really swing for the fences when I produce, but there's still like just a little tiny part of my heart that I don't let myself completely fall in love with the project, just because it's not mine. As soon as it's done, the band goes out and tours it, and it's their project after that. And if I fell in love with these ideas and for some reason they didn't want to use an idea that I had, I don't want to get my heart broken over someone else's record. So
True.
The stuff that's mine, there's just like a little tiny tinge of just pouring my entire self into it that feels different for sure.
Definitely. And so during the hiatus, you guys really lived a lot of life, started families. I know some of you took different career paths. One of you started a furniture store, different things were going down. So how was the recording process considering all these changes in your life? How was it different recording Exora versus You Are My Sunshine?
So I built a recording studio, and that's where we did the record.
Yeah.
We self-produced it exclusively. No additional engineers or producers or anything on the record. So, and John was busy with his furniture during the whole thing, so he was only in, out of the 3 months that we worked on it, he was probably in for 3 days,
Wow.
So, for most of it, it was just Brian and Steven and I, just the three of us in the studio, putting this record together, writing, kind of experimenting with the sound. So it was different. Felt incredibly isolated. We didn't, because we hadn't told people that we weren't sharing ideas with people, and I guess people knew we were making a record, but yeah, it was real isolated.
Yeah. So how do you think that affected you guys musically? Do you think it did in any way?
Yeah, I think it sounds more authentically me. I think it sounds more like the records that I produce than the older Copeland records did, because there was another producer on the other records. So yeah, it was really fairly unfiltered.
And so you guys actually released 2 different versions, Exora and Exora Twin. And when you listen to them at the same time, it's kind of like a third version of the album, which sounds very daunting to put that together. So what was it like for you to create these 2 different versions and actually make sure they sounded harmonious when they came together?
Yeah. So the idea was that we'd have 2 CDs, and if you played the 2 CDs at once on 2 different sound systems, you would have a surround sound version of like the 2 together. And it was just an idea that we had back when we were working on our 4th record. We were just like, oh, what if we did this? And we kind of kicked it around a little bit and never like, had the plums to try it. And this time we were thinking about what would be just like the sickest deluxe version of the album. And we're like, well, the sickest deluxe version would be if the bonus disc could also be played along with, to supplement the original album. So we didn't even test it. We're just like, let's just do it. And so we knew we were doing it ahead of time. So, as we were working on the album, if an idea was cool but not quite right, we would just kind of file it away. We're like, oh, maybe we'll revisit that when we do the Twin record. So we had little bits and pieces of ideas, but for the most part, we did an album for 3 months. We mixed it for a week in New York and flew home, and then the next day started on the Twin. So it was pretty. The fact that we had to do it so fast made it really challenging, because basically we have a song, the chord progression is set, the melody is somewhat set, the structure. Now I have to make a new song with all of those confines, but make it sound completely different, and it has to harmonize with the original, and it has to still sound like Copeland. So
no big deal.
It was really challenging, but I mean, it was fun too. I won't do it again anytime soon, because it was really hard. But yeah, I'm real proud of how it came out. It turned out pretty sweet.
I have to say it's pretty brilliant, to say the least.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you have such an incredibly dedicated fan base. 6-year hiatus, and you guys come back and they're still coming out to the shows, and they've been so. I mean, they absolutely love the new album, to say the least. So, I mean, what characteristics of the band do you think have contributed to the loyalty of your fans?
Oh, that's a great question. I think like the emotional connection, kind of write from a place of heartache. So I feel like when songs are written from a place of heartache, they're just easy to meet people kind of where they are, kind of whatever like situation. Because I mean, everyone goes through stuff, and even if they're having a happy life in this season, they're still like they know what it feels to hurt, and they know what it feels to have some desperation. And so even in a happier season in your life, you can still like appreciate a song that is meant to kind of like meet you where you are in a place of struggle.
Definitely. I totally agree with that, definitely. And so the set list for this tour is pretty awesome, because you have a good mix of the older songs and some of the newer songs as well. So I assume it's a little bit nostalgic for you to revisit those old songs now? Yeah.
I mean, of course the old songs are really tired for me. It's tough to get excited about them, but when people start singing along and having a good time, it kind of overshadows that pretty quickly. It gets pretty fun to like, kind of relive. You see people kind of reliving some moments from their past and stuff. So it's been cool.
So what kind of thoughts come to mind when you play these older songs now?
Honestly, when I play the new songs, I feel like I'm still going inward and, like emoting. I think when I play the old songs, I'm more focused on the crowd.
Yeah.
It's I mean, of course I can still apply some, I can dig into old heartache, or I can, apply my current life to old songs, and, that somewhat helps me like get there emotionally. But a lot of what I'm doing is just observing the crowd and and kind of feeding off their energy.
Yeah, that totally makes sense because it does seem like the lyrics on the new album, you're in a very different place than back then. Your life has totally changed. So
Definitely.
yeah. And I saw in a Twitter Q&A, you guys kind of hinted at the possibility of doing another album. Is that a thing?
Yeah. We've decided that we want to do another one. We don't really know when. We don't have any songs, and we don't have any ideas for what it would be, but I think we've been stewing on the idea of doing another one. So I think it probably will happen. But I think we have some stuff we want to accomplish first. I had a side project in our downtime and trying to finally finish that record, and they might make another States EP or something. The other band, the other guys in the band started a band called States in the downtime. So they've been talking about doing something with that, and I have a bunch of I'm doing another This Wild Life record right after this tour. So we have some life stuff to do. But
nice. And so every Copeland album kind of has its own signature sound, but at the same time, they're all completely different. So where do you guys see yourselves evolving on a next album? Is that something you've thought about yet?
I always think about it, but I feel like I've never actually done what I intended to do when we start. Because I'm very spontaneous when it comes to like creating. So we just let the songs. We'll have a bass, like a very like skeletal version of the song, and we just kind of let it bloom on its own, and let the song kind of guide us. So yeah, I have no idea what it'll sound like.
Well, no suspense or anything now. I'll just be wondering here for a little while. And so this tour is wrapping up, but what are your plans for right after this? I know you mentioned this Wildlife album. Anything else?
I have a This Wild Life record that we're going to do. It starts in January. So yeah, right after the holidays, I'll be back in the studio doing music.
Very awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. Has been so great talking to you. And everybody watching, make sure you grab a copy of Ixora if you haven't already. Subscribe for more interviews, and I'll catch you later. Bye.
Peace.